How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. We are seeing a pretty massive dip in the market here. You can see some of these stocks that are on my list are down 13%, 9%, 8%. This is after we've had a couple rough days before this. So, what is happening right now and what can we do? So, let's take a look at it. There's some fears about inflation. Now, if you guys want to start investing, there's a link down there to Webull. Also, there is a link down there to Voyager in case you want an interest rate on your crypto. So I believe this is most likely the reason. This is at least what I'm seeing. BlackRock CEO Fink does not see inflation as transitory. So he says, I'm not calling for 1970s inflation, but I think we're going to have above 2% inflation, probably closer to 3.5% to 4%, he said in an interview. Does this mean the Federal Reserve will have to change its policy? I think so. This has caused, I think, a lot of fear. We saw CPI data come out yesterday. We saw a little bit of a calming in the market before reducing its support for the economy, while current high inflation will ease in the coming months. So we saw a little bit of a green market this morning, but now we're seeing a good amount of fear. So what can we do? Well, I am getting ready to buy. I'm looking at a couple different stocks. And the reason I say that is a lot of growth is still going to be, I think, the place to invest in over the next 5-10 years. If you take ARK Invest approach or Cathie Wood's approach, which is basically if you are in companies that are high cash flow, that are giving out dividends, that are really rewarding shareholders instead of reinvesting in their businesses, if they're buying back shares a lot of the time instead of reinvesting in their businesses, those are going to be the companies that are bloated and are going to die off in the future. She goes after high innovation, and I believe in that too. I believe that these companies, some of the higher multiple companies, are going to be the ones that innovate. Now, does that mean that I'm going to buy anything that is extremely expensive? No, I want to make sure that it is at a good valuation still, and we're starting to see that. That's why I'm getting a little bit more excited, because we've seen several red days in a row for a lot of these companies. Now, some that I'm looking at here, we'll go through. So first of all, again, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, I appreciate that. I don't think I said that earlier, but I've been adding to Apple over the last couple months, and I'm not planning on adding a lot more to it right now, but you can see it's holding up pretty well. Same thing with Google. People are moving more into these higher reward plays that are a little bit lower risk, because these companies are still growing pretty quickly, right? They still fit that criteria that they're reinvesting in their businesses and growing quite quickly. But we're starting to see a little bit of softness in some other companies I like. So CleanSpark. Right now, CleanSpark's valuation is pretty low. So it is valued, let's see, let's pull it up here. CLSK has about 165 million in cash or something like that. They're being valued around 485 million. So a pretty nice valuation there. I mean, that's about 40% in cash of their market cap. They're going to grow revenue really quickly here in the next couple months too, giving us an update here soon on their mining data. Now, at $14, we've seen it a little bit lower than that. When we saw the massive dip, it went down to $13.84, but that's a pretty good price. So I'm looking at either some long-term call options, as long as I can get, depending on the price of those, or just shares. It's one of my top 4 or 5 stocks anyways. I would love to pick up some more shares. Now, in addition to that, we have some other stocks that I like. One is GGPI. Now, they are talking about merging with Polestar. At least that is the rumor. That's an EV company, electric vehicle company. It's sitting around $10.04. They pumped all the way up to $12 after there was rumors of them merging with Polestar. They're sitting barely at any risk right now. Now, when the market's kind of fearful like this, I like picking up SPACs, because the thing is, if they announce that they're merging with Polestar and the market returns to normal, that means that they could jump up to $12 to $15 in my opinion. But if the market keeps on selling off, it's got a 3% downside. It was sitting around $9.70, I believe, before they even talked about merging with Polestar. So we could see it drop even a little bit further than that, but at that point, there's so much value in the company, because again, the net asset value for SPACs typically $10. So If it gets down to $9.50 or something like that, you can pretty much pick it up and get a guaranteed 5% return if you just claim your shares. Now, that's an interesting play for me. I already put a significant amount in around 10.25 or 10.35, knowing it could fall back down about 5 to 6%. But I feel like that is a nice risk to reward ratio right now, and I wouldn't mind picking up some more shares. Now, Airbnb, they've fallen down to about 132 or so, and they're sitting around 140 right now. I'd like to do some more evaluation on the company itself and the numbers behind it, because I haven't looked super in depth at their numbers in a while, but I really like the business model and I've been waiting for a time to be able to buy in. And this is, I think, a pretty good price, most likely. Now, again, I have to take a look at their valuation right now, at their numbers here. But if we look, since they've gone public, this is about as low as it's gotten. So it got down to 125 right after they went public. Then they went down to 132. Now we're around 140. So we've seen a little bit lower, but they have had some pretty good numbers here. So those are three companies I'm really looking at. Now, there are a bunch of other companies I could talk about. I like Palantir below 20. I like Tattooed Chef below 20. It just depends on what you want and, of course, where your portfolio is at right now. Now, Facebook, I want to keep on adding more to, but it's still at 350. I still want to add more to Alphabet. I bought a share of Google about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's done well. It went from about 2,400 up to 2,600, now 2,560. And I've been adding Apple, like I said. So these companies doing quite well, holding up much better than some of these other higher risk plays. But I think now is actually a pretty good time to be buying the dip on some of these. Now, of course, I want to hear your opinion. I am planning on doing a crypto video. I am adding to crypto positions too. Not right now, but I have some money on the sidelines getting ready. Would love to deploy that here soon. But I want to hear your thoughts on this dip and what do you think about the Fed and inflation. Of course, most of the inflation was due to used cars and to food, which I think the used cars probably won't stay around that level because I think supply and demand will just even out at some point and people will go back to either buying new cars or just not paying as much for cars, right? There will be less supply chain issues and we'll be able to get back to normal, not having to pay such a premium for used cars. And then that will drop down the inflation. Now, if we keep this high inflation, that could definitely be bad for some of these higher risk stocks. And it could definitely cause more of a sell-off, but that is the risk you run in a market like this. Now, if we have inflation numbers that are not as bad as we expect, then obviously these stocks will do quite well. The thinking is the Fed will be more likely to raise rates in the future if inflation stays high, which would cause a sell-off because high risk stocks don't do as well in high interest rate environments typically. So of course, do your research. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. Always do your research and do your own due diligence. Could always be wrong. Could be the ramblings of a madman, as Tom Nash says. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to check out the links down below the video, you can get some free money. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.